Good day, learners. Welcome to our English class. Please go over the text that I have given you and tell me what you notice in them. Yes, sir.
Sir, I noticed on the text that the first text that you have given us,
Yes.
it's like it is written by a grade 2 learner. And then the second one, it's better. It has few spelling errors. And then the third one, or rather I say the last one, it's written in a good way, language based.
Yes. And that guides us to the topic that we will actually be doing today, which is the writing process. Now, before we get into the writing process, do any of you think it is fitting to kill or be killed for your country? Yes, sir.
Sir, I don't think it is fit to be killed by for my own country.
Why not?
Because many people in the country say are selfish, or maybe rather I say, look at our government. The people who are leading us, they take money for themselves and their families. They don't consider other people who lack or who are in need. So I wouldn't say it's fit to die for the country that doesn't take care of others.
Okay. I acknowledge your answer, sir. Also, one can bring the concept of patriotism and say that it is fitting for them to die for their country. Yes, sir?
Sir, I have a question on the concept that you just said to us. You said what is patrio?
Oh,
that way.
patriotism.
Yes.
Patriotism is the love that one has for their country, the devotion that they have for their country, what they are willing to do for their country because of the love they have for it. That is patriotism.
Before we move into the steps of writing process, I would like to take you through what writing is. Writing is the process through which we discover, organize, and we communicate our thoughts through text. So, is there anyone of you who knows the writing steps? Anyone? Yes, sir?
So I believe with the writing steps, we first look at the topic, then write, and then submit.
Number one, you look at the topic. The second one, you write, and then you submit. Yes, that's not incorrect. We look at the topic, yes, we write, and then we submit. But let's go deeper into the writing. Let's go into the content of writing, or the context of writing. How do we write? Like the steps in writing. Is there anyone who have any idea of how do we write? How do we start with the writing? Yes, sir?
So I believe we then have to plan before we write.
You plan, and then after planning, yes.
So I think we should draft after planning.
You plan, and then my sister here said we draft, and then after drafting we submit. Or what's next? Anyone? Yes, sir?
So I think after drafting we should look at our drafts and then submit them.
We look at our draft and then we submit. Yes, we can submit a draft, but in order for us to get a clear text, or maybe I can say a pure text without errors or without spelling errors, we need to edit. Okay, all right, class. Thank you for the answers. But all of you are correct. None of you is wrong on the writing processes. But rather we use the following steps that we have, and we call them the major steps in writing process. The first one, planning. The second one, drafting. And then the third one, editing. Is there anyone of you in this class who knows what can we do when we plan? Let's say maybe for instance we are writing an essay. What can we do in the first step of planning? Yes, sir?
So I think we can use a mind map to gather our ideas and then implement them when we write.
Spot on. We can use mind maps in planning. But also in planning, there's something more important that we can do in planning. Any one of you in planning, before we can go to the mind map, there's something that we need to do. Any? Yes, sir.
Oh, so is it determining the purpose of the text?
Yes, spot on. You determine the purpose of the text. Why are you writing? The main purpose why you are writing that text. And then after determining the main purpose why you are writing, you go on to the mind map. That's where you organize your thoughts on the mind map and you brainstorm ideas. We move on to the next step in writing process, drafting. Is there any one of you who can tell us what do we do in drafting? Yes.
So in drafting, I think we then write our first draft.
You write your first draft. But how do you write your first draft? You have a mind map. How do you go on about it? Yes, ma'am?
So we use the main ideas and supporting ideas we got from our planning.
We use the main ideas and supporting ideas we got from our planning. Remember, when we were doing grammar, we know that we have a sentence structures, whereby we have to know that a sentence must have a certain characteristics or certain parts. Is there anyone of you who knows what a sentence must comprise? Yes, sir?
So I think a sentence must have a topic sentence.
Yes.
We should also have an example.
Okay.
And we should also have an explanation.
Okay.
And also a link.
Okay. That's a paragraph. When a sentence must have the subject, the verb, and the object for us to have a complete sentence. So, using the ideas that we have from our mind map, we come up with a complete sentence that has a subject, the verb, and the object. And those sentences, they will come up with a paragraph to write our first draft. Remember, our paragraph must have a topic sentence. And then remember, we go on to the evidence. From evidence, we go on to the link. But in our paragraph, when we write our first draft, there's a very important paragraphs. Two important paragraphs that we write. Which one are those? Two main important paragraphs that when we look at the structure, a marker, when the marker looks at the structure of your essay, they can just go to the first paragraph and the last paragraph. Which one do we call those paragraphs? We call them, yes, sir?
The introduction.
The introduction, and which one?
The conclusion.
And the conclusion. We start by the introduction and the body paragraphs and the conclusion. That is our first paragraph or our first draft. And then we move on to the next step in writing process, which is the editing step. What do we do in editing? Any one of you? Yes, sir?
So in editing, I think we critically look at our drafts and look for grammatical or errors in our mechanics.
Yes, the grammatical errors and our mechanics. Remember, most of the times, something that I've wrote, I might not see the mistakes. How best can we enhance the editing steps or the editing the stage? Yes, sir?
By giving each other feedback.
By giving each other feedback, we can say, but there's a certain way that I want us to use. How can we say by giving each other feedback? Peer review or peer assessment. We can exchange with our friends, and then we do peer review or peer assessment, whereby your friends go through your text and then they look for spelling errors and grammatical errors. And then what else can we do? Yes, anyone? Yes, sir?
In editing, I also believe that we can
no problem, let's continue. In editing, we don't necessarily look at grammar only. We can look at the structure too, and you check if your paragraphs are on the correct order. Remember, you can't just write a whole page of a paragraph. Your paragraphs must be maybe 6 to 7 lines. They must be concise and to the point. You can look at your structure. Also, you can look at the main idea. When editing steps is very important stage in writing. You edit on whether you didn't confuse the points. Maybe in paragraph 1, maybe you are saying you're going to talk about war. When you edit, you must look at the paragraph whether you spoke about war or maybe you spoke about wedding, so that you don't confuse your ideas. Thank you.
Now, learners, this will be your smart task. At the end of the lesson, you should be able to write an argumentative essay of 200 to 250 words. The essay will be based on a prescribed poem, Dulce et Decorum, by Wilfred Owen. The essay should show that you have engaged with the prescribed poem and you are able to think critically and use persuasive language correctly. This task is attainable as you have had teaching moments on World War I literature, poetry analysis, and using persuasive language. You will also be assessed on mechanisms and styles, as well as the use of the correct tense for literacy or for literary essay. Now, I'm going to give you scaffolding activities, which will be 3. Your scaffolding activity number 1, I will give you a poem by William Shakespeare, Sonnet 18, which you will read, and then after reading the poem, you will have to draft a mind map. That will be our scaffolding activity number 1. And our scaffolding activity number 2 will be that you will be required to draft an introduction for your essay. And then for scaffolding number 3, you will be required to reread your introduction that you have written for your essay and then edit it.